Yo, what's good? Big Z here, and today I'm going to show you guys how to make that new crazy Skrillex and Joyride track. Here's what my remake sounds like.
Let's go. Let's go.
So it's a pretty wild sounding track. I'm going to jump right into how I remade it. As always, all the presets will be down below, and the samples I use for the vocal chop and the cowbell thing will also be down below as well. Alright, so I'm going to start off by talking about the bass sounds. So the main bass is really dirty sounding bass, sounds like this by itself. So this is actually a really simple sound. It's just a square wave in Serum 2 octaves down. Then in the effects tab, I have this diode 1, which is some really heavy distortion on it. And I have the drive and mix up all the way. Without the distortion, it sounds like this. Then with the distortion, it sounds like this. I'm also compressing the sound here after that distortion. And then over in the oscillator tab, in the noise section, I'm using the AC hum 1 sound turned up all the way. And what that does with the distortion on that AC hum 1 sound, it makes it way grittier. So without it, it sounds like this. Then with it. One more thing I'm doing, just to add a little bit more movement to the sound, is using this LFO 1 down here and modulating the fine pitch of the sound just a tiny bit. For processing on it, I'm just adding some more compression and some more distortion with the CLA bass plugin. Then here's the EQ I have on it, just cutting out everything below 120 Hertz, making room for the sub. So it's kind of hard to hear in the mix, but there's this cool sounding like UK type bass that goes on in the song, and it sounds like this. And I'm going to quickly go over this one too. It is 2 triangle waves. One is an octave up from the other, and to give it that weird kind of chord UK sound, you make it 4 semitones above the other oscillator. Then I have this envelope that's controlling the cutoff of the filter here, and I'm also adding this glass lid 4 noise to add some more attack and character to the sound. So without it, it sounds like this. Then with it. I'm doing the same thing as the other bass, modulating the fine pitch a little bit with LFO 1. And then in the effects section, I just have some dimension expander, some tube distortion, and some multi-band compression too. The sub layer of the bass is just a basic sub, nothing fancy, just a sine sub. But there is some serious pitch bending going on, which you won't really be able to hear unless you're listening on like monitors or good headphones. But here's some pitch bending that goes on in the song. So now I'll play all the basses together without the lead sounds.
Let's go.
Alright, so now for those lead sounds. So the first lead sound is kind of like a distorted vocal chop. And here's what it sounds like by itself. So this sound is actually just a sample I found on Splice. Here's what it sounds like by itself before any processing. I'll include that sample down below if you guys want it. What I did to that sample is I added it to Logic Sampler, EXS24. I added a little bit of glide on it and put it in mono, but that's pretty much it for what I did within the sampler. And then for processing, I did a couple things. So before processing, it sounds like this. Then after, it sounds like this. So I added a little bit of stereo spread in the CLA vocals plugin. Then I added some distortion and saturation with Waves J37 plugin. It's kind of like a gritty tape sounding distortion that sounds really good on vocal chops. Then I just EQ the sound a little bit and cut out some lows and highs. Then here's the next lead, which I think is the coolest sound in the whole drop, which is this crazy sounding thing. I didn't really know how to recreate the sound on a synth because I feel like they definitely used a sample for that. So what I found worked best was using a cowbell sample. Here's what the original sample sounds like down here. So just like a basic cowbell sound I got off Splice. Then once I got that sound in the sampler, I just added some glide to it right here. And then I compressed it with this compressor. I added the same tape distortion plugin that I used on the vocal chop to add some grittiness to it. Then other than that, I just have some basic EQ going on, cutting off some highs and lows. So I'll play the whole track again at the end of the video. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure to follow me on Instagram and Spotify below. And other than that, I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace.